Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining us tonight on tonight's Got Pain podcast. This is going to be a real adventure for me and Dr. Alex, and I hope that he's got something to bring to the table tonight because, quite frankly, to be completely transparent, I'm going to talk about nothing. So, I guess with that, I'm going to kick it over to Dr. Alex and let him kind of get started, and I'll continue talking about nothing a little later on.
All right. And Tim, I want you to know that I have rebelled tonight. This is the first night I've not worn a black shirt.
Oh, I should have caught you on that. I should have got you. I didn't even notice.
And see, ladies and gentlemen, I thought I was that was gonna be a big change up on Tim and throw him off, but he beat me to it because I shaved my beard off, and now he's got one. So I went for the first time away from black, but he beat me on the beard, no beard. So anyway,
I'm getting ready to drop out of society. This is going to be how I blend in.
All right. So Dr. Tim said, I'm Alex Loyd. The good-looking guy in black is Dr. Tim Adair, and we're thrilled to be with you tonight. And he said we're talking about nothing, and that's a little bit of a joke because what we're talking about tonight.
It's no joke, Alex. I'm talking about nothing.
Okay. Well, I'm talking primarily about intermittent fasting. And please don't click off when you hear that because you think you know everything about it. I think we're going to share some things you don't know. And where I'm going to start is I started doing this about 5 years ago. And if you go and look at pictures of me or videos, you will notice a difference in me today from 5 years ago. And I quit counting at like 500 people who have asked me over 5 years, how did you lose weight? And if you look at my pictures about 5 years ago, I weighed 180 something pounds. I'm 5'10", or at least I used to be. I may be a little shorter than that now. I've shrunk probably a little in my older age. But when I was young, I was chubby. Some of you have heard this, and I absolutely hated this, Tim. When my mom took me shopping, which was usually right before school started in the fall for some school clothes, we would always get blue jeans, right? I mean, the way I grew up, all the guys pretty much wore blue jeans. There were a few that wore khakis, but not many. Almost all of us wore blue jeans. Well, the bad thing about me for that is that when we would get to the store, my mom and the salesperson would direct us every single time to the husky section.
Oh.
I don't know that they even have a husky section today.
That's politically incorrect now.
Oh, is it? Okay. But back then, there was a husky section. And what it meant is that you're not necessarily fat, but you're chubby. Okay. So I was chubby through elementary school, junior high school. And then in junior high school, I started working out like a madman because I kind of made a life vow that nobody's ever going to make fun of me again for being overweight. And so I started running 6 to 12 miles a day, did that for 20 years, started doing hundreds of push-ups, hundreds of sit-ups every single day. And sure enough, I lost weight. But then after getting married and a couple of kids and, 45, 50, I put some weight back on. To the point that I was about 186, 187 pounds. Now, as far as I know, I was in good health back then, but maybe not as good a health as I'm in today. And to try to describe that, I had a checkup with my medical doctor about a month and a half ago, and this is in 2023 in September, and my resting pulse rate was 60. My blood pressure was 110/60. And he said that they took blood and all that stuff, and he said that my lipids, my vitals, he said all of that stuff. He said a teenager or college student would be jealous of your vitals and your overall general health. He said, especially for your age. And I didn't like that word, especially. But anyway, I think some of that, now, I don't know of any bad health problems I had back then, but I think some of the reason for all those great numbers and everything now is intermittent fasting. And I'll tell you what I did, and then I'll share with you what the Mayo Clinic says and some people like that. But what I did is I started eating one meal a day, pretty much anything I wanted for lunch. I would do that for lunch. I took nutrition and protein and greens and stuff like that for breakfast, and I did not have anything else for breakfast. Now, they're starting today, just recently, saying again, you should eat a big breakfast. But for several years recently, they've not been saying that. That was true when I was a kid growing up. They would, breakfast is the most important meal of the day. Eat a big breakfast, blah, 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 blah. Well, that went away for a while, and it's sort of back now. I'm hearing a lot of people now say, eat a good breakfast. Well, I didn't do that, but you can. And I'll share with you in a minute how you can do that if you'd rather eat a big meal for breakfast. But I eat pretty much anything I want for lunch, have nutrition, protein powder, etc. for breakfast. I do all nutrition for breakfast, anything I want for lunch, and then a snack at about 5 o'clock in the afternoon. And that's it, okay? And I really don't eat any less than I did before I did intermittent fasting. I just eat at different times of the day. And I started losing weight like crazy. I started having more energy. I started feeling better in almost every way, including emotionally, which I never felt bad emotionally, but I started feeling better, okay? And so that's what I did. And this is the first time publicly I've ever shared that. I mean, I haven't really been keeping it a secret or anything. It just hadn't come up that much. But that's what I started doing, and it's what I still do today. Now, why can that make you healthier? Well, what some of you may not realize is that among our basic bodily functions, the thing that takes the most energy of anything is digestion. Okay? Now, if well, let me not go there yet. Digestion takes more energy than anything, okay? And it usually takes 2 to 3 hours. If you eat like a protein drink or something, that takes much less time. But if you eat like a regular meal, it's usually about 2 to 3 hours. And one thing you'll notice is if you eat usually a pretty big meal, for the next 2 or 3 hours, you may be a little tired, a little drowsy, a little sleepy, have a harder time concentrating on your work. That's because so much of your energy is going to digestion. Well, what does that mean? It means that energy, some of it, is being taken away from your immune system. Now, why would that be? Because your immune system is the highest utilizer of energy in your body besides digestion. Okay? So those are the two biggies. So if your body needs more energy because you ate a big meal, it takes some of that away from immune, and your immune system drops back down. So if you eat like most of us grew up eating, where you eat a breakfast at 7 in the morning, then you eat lunch at noon, then you eat dinner at 7. I mean, your body is digesting 9, 10, sometimes even more than that, especially if you eat something between meals. a day, which pretty much means the only time your immune system has to really go at it and not just keep things level, but heal stuff that needs to be healed. Nighttime when you're asleep is about the only time you can do that if you're eating like those 3 meals a day normally. However, the meals I eat during a day are all within a few hours. I usually eat lunch at 11 because I don't eat a full breakfast. I'm hungry by then at like 11. And then I eat my snack kind of dinner that's usually a protein drink or fruit or a small sandwich or something like that at 4 or 5 o'clock. So my digestion is happening over like 6 hours, which means my body has about 18 hours to do healing work that does not suppress my immune system. Now, let me go one other place here. Toxins are primarily stored in fat cells, okay? So if you're carrying 10, 20, 30 extra pounds like I was, 180 something down to now I weigh about 150. So I was carrying about 35 extra pounds. I've got loads of toxicity in those fat cells, okay? So under stress, that toxicity sometimes starts to leak out of those fat cells into your bloodstream and other places and makes you feel bad because it's toxic. That's toxic material. That can be pesticides or herbicides from water and food that we eat that's not certified organic, and they use those things so that the plants would grow bigger and faster and the bugs wouldn't get them and all that sort of thing. But when we eat them, we eat some of those poisons. Those are all poisons. So when those go into the body, if it can't get them out of the body through sweat, urine, bowel, whatever, it tries to wall them away so that they're not affecting your internal organs and the really important functioning. So it does that in fat cells. It does that in your bones. It'll do that in your teeth and under your teeth. A lot of time, there's a lot of very smart doctors that have done great research that believe today that a lot of diseases start as infections under your teeth. Okay, and that's another place the body puts toxins to try to keep them away from your organs like your heart and brain and stomach and kidneys and liver, to protect those, because those are absolutely critical. And if those get toxic, you're in trouble fast. Okay, so when you get rid of fat cells, you're getting rid of toxicity and poison and things that are bringing your health down in your body. Okay, so that's sort of my skinny, if you will, on intermittent fasting. Now, let me go to the Mayo Clinic, and here's what the Mayo Clinic says about intermittent fasting. It highly recommends it, and it says there's several ways to do it. Here's one way the Mayo Clinic talks about, and I've never done this, but I may try it. Eat a normal diet 5 days a week and then fast, but they're not talking about intermittent fasting. They're talking about fasting 2 days a week, where on those 2 days, you drink lots of water, maybe juice, maybe a protein drink, but not a normal meal, okay? The other way is you can eat a normal meal and a snack, but within like an 8 to 10 hour period, which gives your body 14 to 16 hours to heal things without having to take that energy away from your immune system in order for digestion to happen. Okay, you can vary this however it works for you. You could eat a smaller meal at lunch and a little bigger meal as a snack a few hours later. You could eat a meal at breakfast and then just a little bitty snack at about 2 or 3 in the afternoon. You can vary this however you want, but it's not really about reducing your calories so much as just eating in a more condensed period of time so that your immune system has more time and energy to do its work and not just keep you functioning, but take you to optimal health over time. And the Mayo Clinic says that from intermittent fasting, you should lose about 6 to 8 pounds per month. And that is huge, ladies and gentlemen, because you're not reducing your caloric intake. That's saying you're going to lose 6 to 8 pounds a month without really changing your diet as far as what you eat. You're just changing when you eat. Okay. Now, if you're not eating a healthy diet, I would highly, highly recommend that too. Okay. You want to eat good, healthy stuff. I was with Dr. Jordan Rubin most of the day today, who owns Ancient Nutrition and is a very good friend of mine. And he is into all of this and loves it. And Ancient Nutrition's entire thing, they're one of the 5 biggest nutrition companies in the world, and their whole thing is food as medicine. In fact, that's their byline, and I think Tim likes that too. In his thinking about health and all that sort of thing. But so you want your food to be benefiting you, not hurting you. All right. And I'm not saying don't have chocolate ever, don't have ice cream ever. I'm an ice cream guy. I love ice cream. Don't ask me to give up ice cream. And it was just last weekend that I went to Sonic and got a large, like a 40-ounce blast, which is ice cream with Heath bar all in it. And I had 3 of those last week. Okay. On Saturday, on Sunday, and on Wednesday. It's my favorite, desserts. And Hope, who is not doing intermittent fasting, remarked on Sunday, she said, how in the world do you eat that every single week and you keep losing weight and being unbelievably healthy? Well, I think it's the energy work I do with the Healing Codes and Trilogy. I think the most important thing to me is staying right with God. That's the most important thing in my life. Okay. But then a little part of that, and it may be more than just a little, is how I've changed how I eat through intermittent fasting. And I love it. I would never go back. I used to eat pretty much what I wanted and was 30 pounds overweight. Today, I eat pretty much what I want and am 150 pounds with vitals that are a little bit unusual for someone my age. So, Tim, what do you want to add to that?
Well, brother, first of all, I don't know that I have a whole lot to add to that. I'm so proud of you. That was fantastic. Really nicely done. Now, let me tell you, let's start, I guess, at the end of where you left off there. You were talking about your spiritual relationship. Let me ask you, what other word in the Bible usually comes with the word fasting?
What other word?
Yeah,
prayer.
Fasting.
Prayer.
And so when you look at brainwaves, which we have discussed, they're similar. Fasting helps you get into theta, and that helps you with your healing stuff. So that's by design. And
right.
Alex, I'll just tell you a couple things. I don't know that I need to add much at all to the fasting thing, but I want to discuss a couple peripherals. So when people really struggle with intermittent fasting, and I'll give you the little bit that I know.
Tim, you're frozen. If you
that maybe just a little different. I'm sorry.
You were frozen.
You hear me now?
Yeah, but I don't know that they heard what you just said.
Okay, I was just going to tell you a little different perspective on, and wave me down if I freeze again. A little different perspective on fasting from what I know. When I tried intermittent fasting, I didn't do it for weight loss. I was happy with my weight. but I was trying to stay away from Walgreens and not take blood pressure medication. And so my father, my genetics, my dad was on hypertensives at 28. I have a genius older brother, and I say that tongue in cheek, who's 10 years my senior, who won't listen to his little brother, who started hypertensives at 38.
Wow.
So when I got 48, I spent a day with the cardiologist, and I said, look, I'm okay for the moment.
You're frozen.
But I need you to check me from one end to the other. I said, I went to the cardiologist and I wanted him to check me. So I wanted to stay ahead of any possible cardiac conditions just based on family history. And so he said, well, if you want me to promise you, you won't have a heart attack, I cannot do that. You could have a heart attack in the parking lot. And I said, well, gee, thanks. And I said, so I want to find out, what can I do to make myself as healthy as I can be, to take care of my family and not have the health consequences that my predecessors had had. So that's when I got into intermittent fasting. So Alex, you'll get my emails sometimes at 1 a.m. or 12:45. You know, I'm a night dude. And you rarely get emails from me at 4:45 a.m. because I'm not up at 4:45 a.m. But so I tried to stop eating dinner and eat breakfast and lunch and not eat dinner. If you're a morning person, that is the best way to intermittent fast. And so if you're 16 hours with nothing and 8 hours eating, or better yet, maybe 18 and 6, where you do 18 hours of nothing and 6 hours of eating, it would be best by a small margin to do breakfast and lunch. But I was going to commit a felony if I kept skipping dinner. I honestly, I just was too weak and too undisciplined to keep skipping dinner. So I skip breakfast and I have lunch and I have dinner. And I want to tell this for busy professionals. One of the things you just mentioned is that, and you perfectly said, I was beaming like a proud papa when you were talking about one of the biggest energy consuming things you do is digestion. My mentor told me that when you're sick, eating a big meal when you're sick is like chopping a rick of wood buck naked in a snowstorm. It is so hard on your body. It takes so much energy and puts you at a deficit that you're better off to eat very little and hydrate tremendously with lots of electrolytes when you're sick, and use all of your energy to repair your body, not to digest your food. Right?
Right.
Okay. So now, if I go to Cracker Barrel and I have the triple bypass breakfast on my way to work, then I'm going to have to digest with all my energy. And so when I see my patients, you're getting about half of me, because the other half of me is spending all my time breaking down all that material that I've consumed. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So what I do is I have no breakfast so I can give all my energy away in the morning, and I eat enough lunch not to faint in the middle of the day. And I typically have my lunch about 1:30 in the afternoon, and I have my dinner by 7:30. So I'm eating in a 6-hour window, and I'll go about 18 hours with nothing.
You're good now.
Did you hear that, Alex?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, we heard it. You just froze for a second.
Can you see this? Let me see if I can put it where you can see that. Can you see
can.
that?
Yeah. Yeah.
I took a picture of my lunch today. So that's half a green apple, half a red apple, a couple radishes chopped up, some celery chopped up. I did a little olive oil on it because you need fat to tell your brain you're full, and a little celery seed. And I put it in a Tupperware bowl and I shook it and mixed the olive oil around. And that's a really righteous lunch so I have meat the size of my palm of my hand one time a day, and that's at dinner. And I make my complex meal that's hard to digest at the time of day when nobody needs much from me, so I can spend all my energy digesting and not have to half listen to your question that you need me to help you with while I'm digesting. And so for busy professionals, instead of burping and belching and having bloating and indigestion during your workday, have very little and eat your big meal at night. And so I rule my small empire like King Henry with my turkey leg at night, and I have my big meal at night, and that's for me. But the rest of the day, I do either nothing or just a vegetarian diet with some fat in the middle of the day. And Alex, that's a fantastic way. Now, by doing that, and I'd already had my weight kind of where my goal was, but my blood pressure is significantly lowered. And that is because of the rest that you get probably in the liver. And so I would like to let you bounce anything you have off of that. And I would like to talk a little bit about liver. I would like to talk about when you're fasting, not what you're doing, but what you're not doing. And I want to give people some tips to be successful with fasting. But do you need to intervene here? You look like your wheels
No,
are.
I'm just gonna this. I don't want really. I really don't want to share this, but this was me 5 years ago, 35 pounds heavier. Just in case you want to see. So there we go.
Okay, good, brother. Well, you saved yourself some health consequences. But so here's what we see. If everybody's seen the commercial on TV about super beets, you'll see that they're proclaiming that super beets is loaded with nitric oxide, and nitric oxide is really good for vasodilation. And the bigger the garden hose is, the less like. So if I put my thumb at the end of a garden hose, I can shoot the water across the driveway. But if I chop my thumb off, I can't shoot the water across the driveway because the diameter of the hose is so much wider, the water will drop to my feet. So
And
the
it'll take
bigger
you
the
about
diameter,
12 hours to get the soap off your car, too.
well, but the bigger the diameter, the lower the pressure. And so
Yeah.
when we're taking a workload off our liver, we're probably vasodilating, and that's probably why we're helping our blood pressure. Now, here's the other kicker. So this conversation about intermittent fasting is probably better done on a keto podcast. Okay, but now let me just say this: whoever told you guys that a keto diet puts you in ketosis, this is going to step on some toes, Alex. I'm not sorry. Whoever told you a keto diet puts you in ketosis lied to you. I went around for 2 years of my life peeing on chem strips, trying to figure out what keto diet would put me in ketosis. And I could never eat enough keto to get in ketosis. I will tell you beyond a shadow of a doubt, intermittent fasting will absolutely put you in ketosis. And if you can use ketones as a fuel source, you will get your glucose and glycogen stores melted down. And that's why you're losing weight, Alex, is because what you put on the reserve shelf in the warehouse got burnt as a fuel source, and your body had to work hard to convert glycogen to glucose.
Right.
If you ate sugar for breakfast, you would take, your body's lazy. It'll take that morning sugar and use that as a fuel source, and then you wouldn't have had to break down your reserves and do all that work that takes all those calories. So that's the kicker. And I just want to make another comment. I have patients that sometimes go see Dr. Google before they go see Dr. Tim. And I hate Dr. Google. Dr. Google will say sometimes that 12 hours is enough to fast. I totally disagree. I think 16 is the magic number. And if you can do 17 or 18, I think that you get bonus points, and we'll give you extra credit. But I think it takes most of us more than 12 hours, especially old guys like me and you, Alex, maybe younger people.
Hey.
It takes most of us more than 12 hours to get into our glycogen stores to break it down to glucose. So let's shoot for 16, and then even 17 or 18 is where you're. Now, let me throw something else out, and this is huge. Here's why intermittent fasting works. Let's think about how our bodies work. When we go back to caveman principles, back in the day, Alex, if me and you were coming out of the cave together after we'd had a good chat at your cave or mine, pick a cave, and we go out, we hear the herd run by our caves, and we decide, oh, there goes dinner. So we go out and we take our arrow out and we pull back our bow and we shoot and we hit the whatever critter and we drag him over to your cave and we cook him on a fire. We'll eat lots of meat for 3 or 4 days.
Right.
But the next time we hear the herd go by, we'll pull out our arrow and we'll shoot and we'll miss. So whether we want to or not, we're fasting. And so now we don't miss because we stop at Kroger, but our bodies were designed sometimes for us to miss. And so primitive man sometimes had to fast, and not for 12 or 16 hours, maybe for 2 or 3 or 4 days.
Yeah.
And it was no big deal. That was normal caveman life. Okay. But what we've lost from consumption is, and this is the word, it's my favorite word in the English language, we've lost our ability to adapt. And the big kicker with what intermittent fasting does for you is it brings your body's ability back to adapt. So my mentor, God bless him, rest his soul, he told me, he said, son, if you can't work a day or a day and a half with no calories and feel fantastic and not fake a smile, you have blood sugar problems.
Yeah.
And I said, well, then I have blood sugar problems. And he said, of course you do. You're under high stress. You're an intern. You're not sleeping. You're eating out of the vending machine. You got terrible blood sugar problems. And so I learned how to reel that in and how to do some intermittent fasting and those type things. But it's fantastic because it gives you the ability to adapt.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah.
Go. Are you pausing?
I thought you had something. I have
ahead,
a little more if you'll allow me.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Now, here's what I always hear from everybody is we go 2, 3, 4 days. I can't do it. I tried. And I said, well, are you doing your intermittent fasting? And here's, let me translate, Alex. When they say I'm trying, that means absolutely not. Okay. And but now here's the kicker. When you feel rough from intermittent fasting, here's a solution for the rough. And it's easier than it's ever been before in the history of man. So there's all these little things now, like these little IV packets, these LMNT packets, not so much Gatorade and Pedialyte because that comes with sugars, but all the electrolyte little solutions that they have. Most of your misery when you're fasting, I promise, is dehydration. And when I say that, I don't mean drink water. Okay. You guys think I'm always drinking moonshine when I'm doing a podcast. Not just water, but electrolytes in your water. And most of the rough feel that you get why you can't make it 16 hours is because food has a lot of water in it. So it's not that you're not getting the food, it's that you're not getting the hydration. And it's not just water, but it's the electrolytes. So if every single person, while they're not eating, will drink, and not just water, but also every 4th or 5th serving, get the electrolytes in there, you'll have much more success with intermittent fasting.
Yeah, well, we get these little tablets. You can get them on Google. It's a little cylinder of little tablets. You put them in the water, and it just floods electrolytes in there.
Yeah. And so I think the biggest, everybody talks about potassium and sodium, and I honestly think the biggest deficiency when you're fasting is calcium. And that's probably you've heard the term hard water.
Yeah.
Hard water is taken out of the municipal pipes because it gums up the pipe and then we can't get water through the pipe. So what's better than good water is well water. For all the English teachers out there, that was just for you. But when you get well water, it's mineralized and it has lots of calcium in it. And that's fabulous if you have access to well water. If not, you get some of those little electrolytes full of calcium chlorides and you make your own.
Tim, someone just made a comment that for having nothing to say, that's a whole lot of good information.
Well, so, when I have nothing to say, usually there's a 2.0. Can I keep going?
Yeah, go.
Yeah. Okay. And this is a big deal. So I feel like we have to talk about keto when we talk about intermittent fasting. And I really feel like fasting is the only way for our God-given pathway of ketosis to fuel our body. So your cardiologist should tell you to live in ketosis. You'll live longer, you'll live better, you'll have better energy, you'll have better mood, you have better sugar, you'll have better cholesterol, you'll have better triglycerides. Stay in ketosis. So now don't be a keto meathead. If somebody tells you don't eat that apple, eat 3 pieces of sausage, shame on you. Be reasonable And so, an apple a day keeps the doctor away, not a sausage patty. Nobody ever had a saying about that. So do smart keto, and there is such thing, and you can do some YouTubing on what smart keto really means. But that being said, Alex, there's a big trend with intermittent fasting and the carnivore diet. Can I approach that just briefly? Yeah. Do you know about this?
Ladies and gentlemen, my wife Hope and I had lunch with Tim not long ago, and after just fun, how's your family, how's our family kind of stuff, we got into a little bit of shop talk. And I think what Tim is about to share is something he shared at that lunch that I'd never heard in my life. And it was fascinating to me and fabulous too. And Hope is actually it inspired Hope. So yeah, go Tim.
So I had a physician friend of mine, and he and I are we're not like Alex. We're full-figured gals, and so I'm about 5'11" and a half, and I'm about 190. And so I'm a little thick, and so I was talking to my friend, and he's exactly like me. He's 5'11" and a half. He's about 190 pounds. He's a martial arts guy. I'm a martial arts guy, and I beat him grade point average wise, and I beat him in the ring, and I beat him in everything he done. So we went to a seminar, and we show up. He's beautiful, and I'm a full figured gal. And I'm sitting there going, brother, you look fantastic. You look so much better than I do. What are you doing? And he said, well, I'm on my 8th week of a carnivore diet. And I said, what? And he said, a carnivore.
You froze for a second. Tim said carnivore diet.
Yeah, so a carnivore diet is exactly that. You eat meat. And Alex, you know what else you eat on the carnivore diet?
What?
Nothing. You eat meat. And so,
which sounds crazy.
You have to. It sounds crazy. And so, back when I was training, when we took your first beginnings of your cardiology courses, they would talk about, well, you can't eat steak and you can't eat pork and you can't, all that'll give you a heart attack. Well, so come to find out, so this guy, 190 pounds, 5'11" and a half, for 2 months, he had meat and he had water. Okay. Now, in his definition of animal protein and meat, he's a big egg guy. So I guess if you fudge and say, I define meat as anything that used to have eyeballs. Okay. So if you think about it, an egg could have eyeballs if we had a happy rooster, right? So animal
can
protein.
I add something right there, Tim?
Sure.
I had lunch today, as I said, with Jordan Rubin, who's a good friend of mine, and he's one of the top nutritionists in the world. He started Garden of Life. That's a top 5 nutritional company. He owns Ancient Nutrition with Josh Axe, which is a top 5 nutritional company. Both of them are valued between $500 million and $1 billion. And Jordan told me today that he eats 6 raw eggs every day. Not every day of his life, but for a period of time as he's doing this, but in a different way. Go ahead, Tim.
So Jordan's brilliant, and there's only one food on planet Earth that has all 9 essential amino acids, to my knowledge, and that's eggs. So Jordan knows that, and he's smart. And my formulas that you discussed with Jordan today, if you notice, had a lot of meat parts. And Jordan was probably humored about what's up with this guy. But anyway, the basis of this is that when we're doing a keto complete, when we're on that carnivore diet, we're forcing our bodies to stay in ketosis if we're doing it with intermittent fasting. So what happens is a lot of the plaquing on the inside of the arteries, a lot of the intravascular fat resorbs. So you'll get blockages. Every single person on this podcast, the number one likeliness of us all dying if we stay in the United States and we keep living here, the number one cause of death 43 years in a row is heart attack.
Yeah.
Number 2 is cancer. Okay. Both of those are associated with dietary things. We can fight back, But what we need to do is we need to get that intravascular fat reduced out by living in ketosis. Now, why does the carnivore diet work? Is it what you eat? Maybe. But I think what it is what it isn't. And what it isn't is when you're doing the carnivore diet, you're not eating bread, you're not eating chips, you're not eating pretzels, you're not eating croutons, you're not doing cookies, crackers. What we refer to that is white trash. Okay. Yeah. So if you cannot do the bad thing and do the other. Now, here's the kicker. There are one of your cohorts, Alex, and I don't know if you know. Do you know Jordan Peterson? You know who he is.
Yeah, I know who he is.
So a lot of YouTube stuff. I don't know him personally. He's a smart guy. He's not a nutritionist. He's I think clinical psychologist by training. Really good motivational speaker. I got nothing to say about Jordan Peterson other than to quote one of his podcasts, and he said that he was on the carnivore diet, and his daughter was on the carnivore diet, and they were stricken with all kinds of health problems. And he had psoriasis and eczema and all these things, and they all went away on the carnivore diet. But he's not a clinical nutrition guy. So he said, hey, does anybody out there know why? So if you have his phone number, have him call me. But here's why. When remember the parable of fishes and loaves? So yeah. Jesus was the first biochemist. We've had more loaves than we've had fishes. And so when we have more omega-6 fatty acids from loaves, we have an inflammation in our body. And when we have more omega-3s from the animal protein, then we repair. And so when you're doing carnivore, you're not doing white trash. Now, here's the kicker. If I get hit by a train and you guys never hear anything from me again, do I recommend that you live on the carnivore diet? And me personally, I say no, but I think it would be great for you to do a period of time on the carnivore diet. My friend dropped 12 pounds in 2 months. I'll bet anybody on this podcast tonight $10,000, and we'll let Alex weigh us. He's the most honest guy we all know. I'll come over to his house and I'll weigh again in 8 weeks. And if anybody wants to bet me 10 grand, I will bet you 10 grand that I can lose 10 pounds in 8 weeks. And I can do it 7 different ways. No problem at all. I could follow just about any diet and pull that off. I could do no diet and I could just buy spandex and I could pull that off. I'm positive. Here's what was remarkable. Not only did my friend lose 12 pounds in 8 weeks, he lost 10.5% body fat in 2 months. I did not know, as a nutrition guy for 27 years in practice, I didn't know that was humanly possible. In 8 weeks, this guy went from so much worse than me to so much better than me. And don't think for a second I'm going to let him get away with that. And so I'm going to force my body to adapt. And I'm going to do that carnivore diet and for a period of time, and not too concerned about weight loss, but would really like to have that percent of body fat drop and live in ketosis and mix that with my intermittent fasting. That would be, now here's what's cool. You'll eat less food, you'll buy less food, you'll spend less money. And when you're full of fat and protein, you'll be less hungry. And so this is an economics lesson in addition to being a clinical nutrition lesson, because it makes things easier all the way around. Now, let's see, Alex, what are we leaving out? I don't want to leave anybody out. One last thought.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
One last thought for me, and I'll let you have it. So there's an enzyme made in the colon called cadaverine. Alex, do you know what a cadaver is?
Yeah.
Do you want to be one?
Well, I probably will be someday, but
I may donate too, but not anytime soon. And so how's the country song go? We all want to go to heaven, but we don't want to go now. So the enzyme cadaverine, which probably turns you into cadaver, goes way up in your body when you're doing only meat. So I really think, don't know for sure, that it's probably safe to do for 8 weeks before your cadaverine goes up and starts to give you changes in the tissue in your colon. But certainly 2, 3, 4 weeks. And think about that. Remember, why do we know that's okay? Well, we wouldn't be here today if that wasn't okay, because all of our ancestors pulled out their arrow and pulled back their bow and shot. They took meat to cave over fire and ate meat. And that's why we're all here. And so we know for a fact we can do that a week or 2 or 3 at a time, maybe up to 7 or 8 weeks. But I would say this, if you're already got really high body fat, really high body weight, really high blood pressure, really high sugar, what is probably more beneficial than having something that raises your cadaverine is probably lowering the bad stuff. And so it's kind of like when you when you first get saved, you got to stop doing bad stuff, but you got to start doing good stuff. And so we want you to stop doing white trash and start doing the good stuff and live in ketosis. And so, Alex, that's pretty much all of my nothing that I have nothing to share tonight. So I hope somebody got something out of that.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you a question.
Yes.
When we were having lunch and you were talking about this, you used the word reset related to that carnivore diet. Is that something you want to talk to, or would you prefer not to?
No, sir. And thank you for reminding me of that. I always walk away from these and go, what did I forget to say? And that's it. Okay. So when we hit the reset, I think one of the really good words that maybe we could replace with reset is adapt. And so when we have everything going in the wrong direction, we have hyperinsulinism from too much carbohydrate. We have exhaustion in our adrenal glands from trying to break down all that protein. When our fatty liver is getting even more fatty because we're trying to pry some more stored carbohydrate into the back corner. What this program does is turns all that, we call it, Alex, we call it doing a 180. You're going down the wrong road. We're going to make a U-turn and we're going to reset the system so that you can adapt. And your adrenal glands, when they're not exhausted from having to deal with all the carb stuff, can adapt. Your liver, instead of being a fatty liver, can rest and produce nitric oxide and adapt. Your triglycerides that are 3 molecules of sugar bolted to 1 fatty acid can go the other way and adapt. And so we're resetting our bodies to adapt so that if we shoot and miss and we have to go 4 days without a critter, we can make it. But right now, most people can't make it by missing 1 meal, which is really means you're in a crisis health state.
Yeah. We have a question for you, Tim. Are eggs bad for an older man's prostate based on some studies I've read? And that's from a gentleman here.
Okay, I'll be perfectly revealing when I answer this. The answer is yes and no. Okay. Right. Now, Alex, do you remember?
I'm sure he's satisfied with that.
Yeah. No. So let me elaborate. You remember we were told when we were little kids, you are what you eat.
Yeah.
Okay. I like to make everybody, and I bet Jordan Rubin, I'm positive. I just know Jordan Rubin is an egg snob. Okay. Yeah. And I'll tell you what I mean by egg snob. You are what you eats. Okay. So the premium thing I'm going to do on the carnivore program is I'm going to eat grass-fed beef because animals are biological magnifiers. So I am too lazy, Alex, to get down on my hands and knees and graze 5 acres of grass. I am not going to eat 5 acres of grass crawling around on my hands and knees. But I'll be happy to shoot the animal that does, skin him, drag him back to my cave, put him over the flame, and I'll let him do all the work for me, and I'll eat him. So if I eat grass-fed beef, that's the pinnacle. And if I eat flax-fed chicken eggs, I will have a rocking profile in my egg. And if I do grain-fed chicken eggs, that's a miss. And so that's the rest of the story.
Okay, another question. If you're going to do a carnivore short-term adaptogen reset, how often should you do that? Once a year, once every 5 years? How often would you suggest?
What a great question. And so the answer is it depends. If your labs, cholesterol's good, your sugar's good, your blood pressure is good, you're good. But if you start to lose ground with those things, then you're not adapting. And if you're not adapting, you have to reset.
Right. Okay. Wonderful. Thank you so much. And so what if you have a question, write it in. I think we just had another one. And the same person says, and I'm not, they're saying organic eggs don't qualify, question mark, question mark. I'm not sure what they mean by that. Do you know?
I don't know. I'm guessing
Okay.
they're just trying to say that just because a chicken or hen is not given antibiotics or hormones does not necessarily.
Oh, doesn't change that.
I'm sorry?
Doesn't change that.
Well, so yes, we don't want you to have hormones. We don't want you to have antibiotics. But just
Right.
because you don't doesn't mean that you were fed flaxseed. So we still want good sources of chicken feed.
And then we have another question. Do you have a protein drink that you recommend? And yes, we do. Laura, if you could put up the Ancient 3-pack, please. We've shown you this before. This is what I do for breakfast. And honestly, you could live on this, okay? I've shared before, I've talked to world-class nutritionists, MD researchers who have said this supplies 100% of fruits, 100% of vegetables, in normal situations, 100% of calcium, plus about 95% of all specific needs over and above that, which is absolutely monstrous. And this is a new formulation. It's not ever been available in the world until now. Tim made a comment a few minutes ago. We can do this better today than we've ever been able to do it. And I think we're maybe having trouble finding that. Over on, if you click on the chat button at the bottom, you'll see on the right a link that takes you to that 3-pack nutrition. Here it is. And by the way, this is made by Jordan Rubin and Josh Axe at Ancient Nutrition. But here's the thing. We sell this cheaper than they do. And it's because they're partnering with us in a program that I'm doing with Tim for chiropractors, naturopaths, spas, etc. We're trying to build the largest natural health network in the world. We believe we'll be successful at that. And so on the right are the super greens plus your daily vitamins. In the middle is collagen peptide proteins, and that's what I use for my protein drink. A scoop of that. I do a scoop of the collagen protein, a banana, some dry peanut butter. That means it doesn't have the sugar in it. You can get that at Costco and Walmart and a lot of other places. And then a little bit of ice. So peanut butter powder, protein powder, a banana, some milk, organic milk, and some ice. And let me tell you, it tastes like a milkshake that's not as cold. It tastes delicious. And then on the
Hey,
left,
Alex, let me jump in on this just for a second. Yeah. In my background, I've trained a lot of athletes and a lot of I was team doc for 14 years and a lot of muscle guys. And so one of the things that I think people are thinking about, there's a tremendous marketing push when you walk into a nutrition supplement store for whey protein. And the reason that everybody tries to get you to buy whey protein, there's 22 amino acids, and 3 of them make you build skeletal muscle. They're called leucine, isoleucine, and valine, and they're known as the branched chain amino acids. And so there's all these formulas for BCAAs, and they're in different ratios, and our ratio is better. Here's my honest to God, hear me now, before the train runs me over. This is what you need to know about whey protein. If it has whey in it, go the other way. Mm-hmm. Run. That stuff is loaded with pro-inflammatory proteins that are that in the leaky gut situation cause a tremendous amount of inflammation. If I could get Jordan Rubin to tell the truth, and I don't know him as well as Alex does, so I probably can't get a confession out of him. But I would love to know how on God's green earth, in that collagen powder that Alex has got on the screen, he fermented an egg. I know how to ferment grains, grapes, beer. I know how to ferment all kinds of things. How do you ferment an egg? And I bet Jordan will take that to his grave and never tell us, because that's one of the things that makes that so special. So it's a really fantastic product. And Alex, I do a scoop of that in my coffee every day too. And I feel really righteous about my coffee.
Yeah. So in the morning, I do a scoop of the greens, a scoop of the collagen and water, mix it up, drink it down. And I do one of the ashwagandha tablets on the left, and that is for neurological and emotional. So in these three, you get emotional, structural, and chemical, all three. It's really fantastic. And the world-class MD researcher that I talked to about this and sent him the formulations, and I've shared this before, he said everyone over 40 should be doing this every day. And he said this is a breakthrough. I've never seen anything this good. Everyone over 40 should be doing this every day. And this was one of our very early podcasts, so you may not have seen these, but let me tell you, I started doing this a year ago as soon as they came out. And it sounds crazy when you look at me, and it sounds crazy when I look at when I was born. But ladies and gentlemen, I feel like I felt in my 20s. I really do. And I think part of the reason for that is that I've been taking the three combination thing here for a year. I've been doing intermittent fasting for 5 years, and then I've been doing the healing codes for 23. So that's my secret, and I believe you can do it too. So,
well, Alex, I think most guys your age are thinking about retiring, and you're thinking about perspiring. And so I think,
yeah, man.
I think that you're headed on the right track, brother. And I want to.
So, Laura, you can take that down.
Since you're much older than me.
All right. So let's see if we have any other questions. I think we've answered the ones that we have. Tim, any last words?
Yeah, I'd like to recap. And when you walk away tonight and you want to go, what do I do? Well, what do you not do? You got to have 18 hours a day. And this is what I tell everybody. I said, listen, I never do anything wrong for breakfast. The reason I can say that is that I don't do anything. And so if you don't do anything, you can't do anything wrong, right? And so the best thing, and this is the craziest thing, it took me 27 years in practice to learn that the thing that makes me feel the best when I eat it is nothing. When I am right before breaking my fast is when I feel the best. My energy's fantastic. I'm not bloated. I'm focused. I feel fantastic. So the less you eat, we got all kinds of problems from overconsumption. So here's the the playbook. You got to have one meal a day that you can get rid of. If you are much more disciplined than me, skip breakfast. There's some research that says eat breakfast, eat lunch, skip dinner. That's slightly better than if you skip breakfast, eat lunch, eat dinner. Make it up in your mind. You got to eat lunch. So those of us who are working, not retired, if you'll make your lunch really small, you won't steal your energy away from your occupation to spend on digestion. So that little thing I showed you guys is a really righteous lunch. Have a salad, but always get a fat in. That's the key. Fat keeps your brain told that we call it satiety or being satiated. Fat tells you you're not hungry. You have to have fat. Alex likes his peanut butter powder. You have to have the fat to tell you you're not hungry. That's how you don't fail. And you have to stay hydrated when you're not getting food, because there's so much water in food that you're not eating. Make sure that you're staying hydrated. And then have animal protein for your meal that you are having that's not during your work day. And you can get all those amino acids that are necessary for neurotransmitters. And that's a really actionable, smart keto game plan that will benefit your health. And those are all freebies. And if you do this, your grocery bill won't go up, it'll go down.
We have a comment, intermittent fasting works to bring down blood sugar. She asked, how come I can't find the ashwagandha from Ancient Nutrition at my vitamin store? I have no idea, but I will tell you that Josh and Jordan tell me that's one of their very top sellers, and it's one of my very top sellers. And ashwagandha is like a cortisol control miracle. It is
a cortisol blocker.
It is fantastic. So
by the way, Alex, ashwagandha is the top herb that is adaptogenic.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, yeah.
So those three, the collagen peptide proteins, the green +1 daily, and the ashwagandha, you can't eliminate any of those. You need all three of those. So anyway, use this information for intermittent fasting. Maybe reset your system for a short period of time with a carnivore diet. And I was going to share one thing. I had a Healing Codes client from a young lady who's one of the most beautiful, one of the most physically beautiful women you would ever see in your life. In fact, she was a Hollywood actress, and she collapsed. And for the next 3 years, she was bedfast, basically living in a bed sheet with chronic fatigue, fibromyalgia, all that sort of thing, was in terrible pain. She couldn't eat hardly anything without reacting negatively. And she'd been as a lot of actresses are, she'd been on this basically a strict diet of caloric intake for years. Okay. So when someone suggested to her, and it wasn't me, when someone suggested to her to do a carnivore diet for a period of time, man, that was like the devil to her, man, because she didn't eat meat at all, but she was desperate. So she did that, Tim, and it changed her entire life. Her allergies and sensitivities went away. Her chronic fatigue and all got better. Today, she's living her life vibrantly, is not held back by any of that stuff anymore. And that's one of the main things she credits with turning that around. And she was totally resistant to it, did not want to do it at all. But now she's a big proponent because and she'll even say in some ways it saved her life. So this is great stuff. So that's it for me. And we're 3 minutes over. Sorry about that. But consider intermittent fasting. Consider resetting your system for a short period of time with a carnivore, and get on those nutritions. They will change your life. That's it for me. Thank you, everyone. God bless you. Have a good evening.
Alex, see you, brother.
Thanks, Tim. Thank you, Laura. Thank you, Laura. God bless.
Thank you, Laura. Bye-bye.